kids, they like, if Patty can wear a princess dress to bed, to.
Princess dress fine, but the whole grad gown ceremony stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't,
like,
yeah, no,
kindergarten,
I wouldn't go and spend money on a grad dress, no.
Not that I wanna yuck anybody's yum, I just always get a giggle out of it. I only got to graduate like once.
Yeah, I didn't even go to my graduation. It's like, I got better things to do. Moving on and play.
Actually,
Oh,
no, I got 2 graduations, grade 12 and grade 13.
yeah. I'm kind of negative that way though, right? It's,
Okay,
they're like, how come you're not coming? Like, cause I moved on with my life and I got lots of stuff to get done. No time for parties.
I understand what you're saying, but you need to have like the small.
Being such a negatron.
Me, I don't think I asked my grade.
Jordan, you're there?
Grade 6.
Oh, Jordan, you're there?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll call this regular meeting to order at 7:01 on Tuesday, June 22nd. We'll start first with the land acknowledgement, which is, so we gather here today, we acknowledge that we're in Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. So, before we do the adoption agenda, there's a few items that we need to add. The first one, or I guess this is all of them, correct?
That's all, yes.
Okay, so it's going to be the CA reports. And is there?
So under section 4, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So under section 4.3, we're going to be adding the verbal report petition for construction of a dirt bike track, the verbal report for the Northern Lights hockey development, verbal report for John Poirier inquiry, verbal report for municipal grants to Community Group 2021, and the issue report water and sewer services agreement.
And that was provided to council yesterday evening.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
I noticed there's no minutes of the June 17th meeting, special meeting was called.
Yeah, not yet. We'll be on for July. Just ran out of time, but we had issues with the agenda software on Friday. We were at 7:30 on Friday. Sorry, it's just a timing issue.
It'll appear on the website.
Yeah, we'll get it up there. It has to come back to council, and it has to come back to council. It will.
Okay,
It's just strictly a timing issue, council. That's all it is.
Councilor Rotta.
I'd like to add an addition to the agenda there, please, under new business. Further discussion on the Canada Day.
Okay. Excellent. Any other additions to the agenda today? Okay, great. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Also move.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion is carried. We move on to the adoption of the minutes, 3.1, for the motion to approve May 31st minutes. Any questions, comments, or concerns around the minutes presented?
I'll move to accept those minutes as presented.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion's carried. We move on to 3.2, motion to approve June 8th, 2021 minutes.
I do have a question. It doesn't have a time to go with camera noted in the meeting minutes there. And it's, I don't know if the wrong one was uploaded or it was just missed, but.
Probably just missed.
Okay.
We said we were here 7:30 on Friday, trying to get this stuff kind of put out. My apologies.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can have that updated before we approve that, I guess.
We can get it, I can look at my notes here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question in regards to the minutes on that June 8th meeting. And it looks like there are motions pending. They with this information that was handed to us. I guess my question is, on the minutes of June 8th, there was a discussion on grant money, so we're going to be talking on grant money references.
Yeah, so to your question, Councillor, discussion was what council would like to do tonight when making a binding decision. It should have been on tonight's agenda that grant had taken final resolution to approve the grant money.
So where will that show up on our agenda here?
It's actually been added under section 4. They went in as section 4, item number 4.3.13. So we added it tonight. For tonight.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So that discussion happened and what council reflected in terms of the will of council council is gonna be passed tonight by resolution. So whenever we summarize whatever council discussed at June 8th, and it's coming back tonight for a final resolution to approve.
Okay. So again, clarity for final resolution. For instance, can I just pick on one here?
Sure.
The Alec Robertson Public Library for $1,000. Will we discuss that, or will council that on June 8th, that we accept that? So it's a foregone conclusion as well happen?
So the Royal Council on June 8th was, every one of them was okay except for the Napatak Ramble. So the motion is worded out there in a way that reflects the will of council on June 8th. And should council wish to change it, the information is attached to it behind there again to go through it again tonight if council so wishes. We put the spreadsheet behind there again.
Yeah, because I'd like to have a discussion on some of these grants, but
Yeah.
because circumstances have changed since June 8th.
Sure.
That was the will of council at that point, but I think I've got a legitimate argument to question some of this grant money as well. So,
Well, that's fine. So for discussion tonight again if council so wishes.
thank you.
Okay, so we don't have a resolution because there's that time that needs to be.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so do you need a resolution to request that? To move forward?
Let's just go back to it and ask for a motion a little later. We'll pass the motion for the
Sure. Okay, all right, so we're moving on to 3.3, business writing for minutes, which there is none, so we go into correspondence. 4.1.1, which is the Lac La Ronge Regional Pride Committee. I will declare conflict of interest, but I will allow anyone, if anyone has any questions for me before I do declare conflict. Okay, I'll declare conflict of interest at this time, and I'll pass the chair to Deputy Mayor McGill.
Alright, so, are you guys able to hear me there?
You guys are.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just as a, I guess a point of, order, how we'll do it is if somebody has something to say, just quickly raise your hand, I'll make a speakers list here, and, we can, go forward on the matter of, the Lac La Ronge Regional Pride Committee, correspondent is here.
That's me, sorry,
Yeah.
Gordon. I don't know if
Yeah,
you can see me.
go ahead.
Well, I'd like to begin this discussion before this goes to a vote or a motion. I would like all of council to take into consideration part of the cancellation of Canada Day in regards to social gathering in regards to this COVID bit, and how we're all within the understanding that we're to, not emphasize or support social gatherings, and it looks like they're attempting to get people together, of course, abiding by all the COVID rules, but I find it difficult to cancel Canada Day celebrations because of COVID, but now we're going to suggest the theory of allowing a social gathering in Patterson Park. That's one thing I'd like to acknowledge. Secondly, I'd like you to acknowledge the in-kind contribution that this committee is looking for. Well, I think we do have a policy in place to, we've probably, this is passed, but we've got a policy in place to consider this in-kind contribution. So again, I'd like council to acknowledge those facts before putting this to a motion. That's all I've got to say, thank you.
Councillor Abbey's got her hand up.
Okay, so you're able to be there.
Yeah.
What I'll say is, like I said, there's an issue, then just, I'll just go to one counselor at a time, I guess, and self-police for now. So Abby, go ahead.
My understanding of Canada Day, I can't characterize it as necessarily being canceled because I don't think that was the intent. It was more stepping away from Canada Day. But in regards to that, I don't believe that the town had done any preparation, so it wasn't like we were actually canceling anything. When it comes to this Pride request, yeah, this is very late. This should have come through our municipal grant process, which your criticism has merit. And there is a request for an in-kind contribution, but with all of the moving parts of COVID restrictions lifting, I would support considering this either in our special spending category, because Pride is very important. This town has come a very long way over the last number of years and built up a support of Pride and diversity that is important to continue to show support for. So I would like to discuss with council what options we may have within our policies to be able to support an event. When it comes to restrictions on social gathering, I believe that there can be events hosted at this point that are safe and following protocols. Our vaccination rates are huge. Our public health nurses are literally walking down to the beach to jab people. So we are well on our way, and I think that having a Pride celebration and supporting the Pride Committee will lift spirits and be a really positive activity in our community. And Canada Day is not about COVID necessarily. It's about taking a moment of reflection, and nothing is stopping any individual, any family, any group within the community from celebrating Canada Day in their own way. I will celebrate in my own way, but just not holding municipal celebrations for that day and rather deferring to later in the month, I think is the right move to make. So that's my piece.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak on the matter?
I would just like to say that I am in support of this. Again, if we speak about the gathering piece, there are protocols that we can put into place, which is the contact tracing and just having somebody take down names and phone numbers of those present. I appreciate the criticism from and the feedback from both Councillor Watt and Councillor Bashara. But if we, as caring, compassionate, empathetic human beings with respect for diversity, are choosing to support groups that have been historically oppressed, the LGBTQ2+ community in this community, provincially, nationally, and worldwide, has been historically oppressed for generations as well. So the right thing to do, again, in this instance, is to support this move, with acknowledgement that the request for the in-kind donation, yes, it is late. I don't know if we can follow through with helping with that, but I do support the closing down of Oronge Avenue and the use of Patterson Park, with the other items to kind of be determined by town administration and the staff responsible for that department.
Steve, I see your hand up there.
Just quickly, council, just as a friendly reminder, my sense on this is it's kind of late to the game. We had a couple high-profile groups that put their name in through the policy process and did not get it because they didn't finish up the application and all that. And outside of the whole the Pride festivities, my sense is along Councillor McPhail's is to encourage you to go back through the process, follow the policy, and make sure it goes in time, because I think there's a risk outside of the festivities that you show any kind of slight process change. For one, I know there's a very prominent group in town here that missed the ball on this last one, and that's the risk there, is that you might open up some discussion there.
Is the intake not closed for this round?
It's closed, but there's still an intake into the fall.
Into the fall, but we
Yes.
wouldn't be able to disperse funding until then. So the Pride Committee would then have to apply for the fall funding for the spring.
I don't think there's a request for funding.
There's no funding there.
Yeah, there's no
In-kind
funding.
support.
support, yeah, in-kind support, yeah.
Councilor Watt?
I would like to just bring to the attention of the floor that it was not my attempt to criticize. It was my attempt to clarify. So two councillors both voiced their opinion that I was criticizing, I was bringing to the attention of. And again, I believe that it is the intention of not only this council, it's bringing people together instead of creating division. This animosity, instead of peace and kindness, we're picking and choosing. And there's a lot of uncomfortable people that put us in these positions to make these decisions. And to not support one event and support another event, I have difficulty with it, because I guess my interpretation of pride is slightly different, maybe in the minds of a lot of other people. I'm proud of the country I live in. Thank you.
Apologize for my phone going off in the middle of your comments there, Councilor Watt. So if I can weigh in on the matter a little bit on this, my points typically surround the policy and procedure, and something that we have followed in our community, and the importance of what we have in our community is following due process and procedures. And for myself, I think it's no surprise that I do support, Pride festivities in our community. But that being said, I do believe there are two separate requests that we have here. One is being able to use the L'Orange Avenue for a event that is organized not by the town but by another committee. And secondly, to have use of the park. And in my opinion, I think that if somebody else would like to organize something, as we have many events arranged in our downtown core, most of which we've accepted and brought through this process, I have no problem personally pushing through or allowing the L'Orange Avenue laneway and the use of the Patterson Park. As far as in-kind donations, I do believe that this has to follow due process, and for that I would say that as of today, I'm not in support of the in-kind donations at this point.
Councillor Bishara has her hand up.
If nobody's speaking, just please yell out.
I'm in agreement, like, I can't reconcile, the in-kind support, the question being asked about, is there a way, was seeing if there was a way that we can support this. For the tables, garbage bags, and power supply, I'm sure if the Pride Committee put out a call to the community for some support in that sense, there would be plenty of that. I'm fully supportive of the parade, the use of L'Orange Ave, and the use of the park. I'm curious, administration, what is the process typically for events in the park, permission for events in the park? Is that always a matter that comes to council, or is that?
That's new to me, Councillor. I mean, typically in the past for other municipalities, it does come back to council. I can't speak specifically. This is the first one I've seen here. So
Perhaps Councillor Watt or Deputy Mayor McPhail knows that policy?
No, can't help you.
Okay.
So
For parades? Sorry?
Parades or use of the park for events?
I mean, it's more of a, like the closure of the road is definitely something that has typically come as a request. In some cases, we don't have official requests coming through, very similar to what we just seen on Monday. I don't believe there was an official request through the town to close the road for the event, but if it's, for the main request that has to come through is on any kind of in-kind. So if we have in the winter snow clearing, in the summer, if somebody requested that we have porta potties or power stations, those kinds of things, they typically come through an in-kind request. But I mean, at the end of the day, Patterson Park is a public park, and you don't need to be granted a park pass to be able to go and enjoy the park downtown. So the main issue truly is whether or not we allow somebody to set up a stage, which I would say does need to come before council. The second part is the closing of the road. So, I mean, to me, I see a couple ways of dealing with this request. The first would probably be along the lines of two different motions where we can act accordingly or independently on either matter. The second thing is we could make a motion to refer this to administration, because I think this is mainly dealing with operations at the time of closing down roads and allowing stages and parks. So we could probably be handled between our CAO and the parks manager. I did see Councilor Watts hand up, so I will move to Councilor
Yes,
Watts.
thank you, Deputy. I will now criticize a statement brought forth by fellow Councilor Bouchard. She made it very clear in that if the Pride Committee needed the support of the town and town folk, they would go back to the town folk and get that support. My question, did that happen during this Canada Day discussion? Not by the support I was getting. So that is a criticism, in my opinion.
Councilor Becci? And then I see Councilor Reyes right after.
On the talk about the regional pride parade, I am in support of it. I would not be in support of the tables and the garbages and the power supply at this point. I don't see anything wrong with it, because we did not cancel Canada Day. I will be celebrating Canada Day this year with my family and my friends, as I've done every year. And it will continue on. I decided my decision on Canada Day out of respect for our tribe, one of our tri-community partners. Thank you.
Just before we go to Councilor Rizark, I would just like to remind the table that I think there are two separate issues on the table currently. And if we can keep our comments related specifically to the La Ronde Regional Pride Committee that is before us. With that, I'll move to Councilor Rizark.
I will actually wait, because my comment does relate to the Canada Day piece, and I'd just like to reiterate that I do support the Pride Committee request, but the operational pieces going back to administration, as we as a council don't necessarily determine those smaller operational pieces, right?
So if I'm gathering from the table, I'm trying to just build some consensus on the matter so we can move on. From what I'm hearing is we do want to allow the closure of the L'Orange Avenue and the park usage for the stage. Seeing as I am the chair at this point, I'm not able to make a motion. If there is somebody that can make a motion to that effect.
I'm going to make one comment for tonight. I've been waiting over.
Sorry?
I would be in support of the Pride Parade to happen. But I'm not sure I'd be willing to support festivities for the park. It's a celebration. I think we made it clear that it's a somber time in our community. But like I said, I would support the parade, but I wouldn't support the balance of it.
So then I would like to maybe put a motion on the floor.
I think, Ian, can I just clarify? I think we had somebody, maybe Councilor Vivian, you made a motion on the table, right?
No, Abby moved.
Okay.
Can I amend my motion to first, the first motion being that the town of L'Orange refer to administration for the permission of use of L'Orange, closing down a portion of L'Orange Avenue for a pride parade?
if I can make a suggestion, Councillor, so any closing of streets have to come back to council. So
Okay, so.
that one, Councillor McPhail is correct, and you see later on the agenda, there's another resolution there. So to do the Pride Parade, we would need a motion saying July 4th from 12 to 2, L'Orange Avenue is hereby closed down.
Okay, then I would like to have my motion read as.
And then,
stated
then
there.
refer all their matters back to administration. So the resolution would read that, that the L'Orange Avenue be closed on July 4th from 12 till 2 to accommodate the Pride Parade, and that all other matters in the ask be referred back to administration.
I will do that.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on the motion on the floor?
Can you read the motion, please?
I can, yeah. So that L'Orange Avenue be closed on July 4th from 12 to 2 p.m. to accommodate the Pride Parade, and that all other matters of the request be referred back to administration.
Councillor Watt?
I would like to refer back to the request, potentially single lane as done in the past, not the whole Orange Avenue. That's a request. Why are we shutting the whole street down? We only want half of it.
We'll work with them and try to accommodate. It's not, we'll get what they need.
It's interrupting a lot of businesses that come. When I was downtown today, they had a look at this and they were wondering, okay, am I going to be able to operate my business?
Yeah, we'll work with the Pride Committee to make sure we accommodate their request and all that future. Yeah.
Saturday, it's a Saturday.
Since this is being held on July 3rd, referring all other matters back to administration serves to remove any decision-making and therefore any ability for decision-making by council that might need council support, correct? So
Yeah, basically it's
it is
just
not
a-
within administration's authority.
It's coming back. Well, I'll send an email to the council and advise. The one item that I'm absolutely crystal clear on right now is the road closure needs authority of council.
Okay, but our next meeting is not before July 3rd?
That's correct, July 20th, next council meeting.
So any decision of council is going to be by a special meeting if this needs another decision.
Yes, if it needs special another decision, yes. If either Councilor McPhail or Councilor Walker recall from last year, because I know in some places like Regina, you just have to put up the park and you can use it, you don't have to go back to council. Like it's, to me, the one that's ironclad, I'm absolutely certain on is the road closure needs to be approved by council for single lane. If it came, like there was a Pride Parade last year, they didn't come back for council to use the park last year. So I'm taking a guess there, Councilor Bouchard, that we can handle the rest internally.
Okay.
A good guess.
I'm asking these questions because I understand that there is some hesitancy for support of other things from other councillors at the table. So I just want to ensure that there is opportunity for everybody to be heard.
So I guess the only point of interest that I have is mainly coming to the point of asking administration at this point. Would you feel that it's within the scope of work of administration to make a decision independent of council between now and July 3rd that would not put you in a situation where you were operating where there is no policy to be able to approve or deny this? And if there is, could you identify which parts of those that we could deal with here tonight?
Off the top of my head, I can't do the policy, Councilor McPhail, but I don't see any obstacles off the top of my head. We're just making, as long as there's enough notice in terms of park use and all that, we're not really impeding public use like we are with the road. If some council wants, amend the motion to have the second part to include that the use of Patterson Park be approved. If council's at all uneasy about it.
Can we have that as a separate motion?
So seeing his motion on the table to refer, and it's been moved and seconded, I would say that this does require a amendment to be in order.
Okay, so as the original mover, can I amend my motion?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that the motion be amended to the first part of that only. So administration, do you mind reading that first portion about the closure of?
Yes,
Laurent Avenue?
closure of Laurent Avenue on July 4th from 12 to 2 be allowed. That's the first part.
Okay, so that, I want to amend my motion to that, please.
Is there a seconder to the amendment?
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Petrie on that. Is there any discussion on the motion to close Laurent, or the single lane of Laurent Avenue from 12 to 2 on July 4th? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
I vote in favor. I can see Councillor Bashara.
Aye.
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 Okay, so I call the amendment carried. So now back to the original motion. Basically, same thing I just said, to close down Laurent Avenue to a single lane on Sunday, July 4th from 12 to 2. Seeing as there was no discussion before, I will go straight to the question. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I call it carried. Is there any other matters to discuss on the Regional Pride Parade Committee?
Should we have an additional motion in support of the use of the park to allow administration to avoid any ambiguity in policy? And proceed with that?
I did hear that at the table, so if somebody's wanting to make the motion, they can. If not, we can move forward.
Do we need a motion to allow use of a park? So if I wanted to go with my family of 20, extended family, and have a large picnic and put on our own drama show in the park, would I need permission to go to that?
I would say that where we're getting into the procedural hang-up here, Councillor Zarkan, is the use of a stage on the
Oh,
Patterson
okay,
Park.
okay. Thank
So
you
that's
for
where I'm saying,
clarifying.
but I think as a matter of procedure, we might need that. I do see Councillor Verdisky. I pass it to you.
As I mentioned earlier, I was in support of going forward with the Pride Parade for showing respect for diversity in our community, but I'm not in support of having the park available for celebrating when we're in a somber time in our community.
Okay, sorry?
Uh,
Is that Councillor Bashara?
Yeah, I think in regards to a stage, not knowing our history, our policies are, in the simplest form, decisions we make or not make, and our practice. I don't know if we have entertained all requests for stage use in the park, but in light of a large portion of our community needing to see the support for difference and as an act of reconciliation to our two-spirit folks in our community, I believe that I would like to make the motion that we permit the Pride Committee to use a stage on July 3rd in Patterson Park.
I will second that motion.
I hear a mover and a seconder to allow the use of the park and to allow for the setting of the stage. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I do have a quick question. At what point do we throw that bit of recorded vote in there, George? Is it prior to the motion or?
prior to the question being called.
Okay, so prior to that, yeah, I'd like to have that recorded vote there, please, sir.
I do call that in order so we can record the vote. I did see CAO Stephen, with your hand up.
No, I was just making sure you were gonna grab Councillor Watt's question, just trying to help you out.
Okay, yeah. Is there any other discussion on the matter? Hearing none, and unless Abby, you speak up or forever hold your peace now, I can't see you on the camera, so I will move to the question. As a matter of procedure, I will call the councillor's name, and if you can verbally say your vote for the records, I will go through in the order that I see it on the screen here. So I will go to Councillor Bashara,
Aye.
Councillor Rizarkan,
Aye.
Councillor Badisky,
Opposed?
Councillor Bevetry,
In favor?
Councillor Watt,
Opposed?
and for myself, I vote in favor.
Carried.
So I will call that carried 4-2. In the final piece is the in-kind donation, and I think that as a matter of procedure, if I'm not mistaken, administration, we take no action on the in-kind donation. At that point, it would fall into our normal procedures and would basically, we revert back to administration.
That is correct. That is correct. No action. We will follow up on it.
So from what I've heard so far from the table on a consensus basis is that we are not in favor of the in-kind donations at this point. So with that, I would say that there is no need for a further discussion unless another councillor would like to move or second the motion to that effect for discussion.
Just a point of discussion that I would like for further investigation is creating a park use policy, like to direct administration to support the creation of a park use policy, as we don't have a current park use policy. Yes.
If I can make a suggestion, just leave it with me and I'll bring it back to July meeting. There might be one there. So I've marked it down. I'll follow up with the parks manager here and I'll get back to council in July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I think that we have reached the end of debate for the Lackawanna Regional by Committee's delegation for conduct. And at that point, I would request the administration of let Colin, Mayor Kushniak back in, and we continue with our agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
We go back to the June 8th minutes. The adjournment was 10:08
Sure.
on the June 8th minutes, and the in-camera was 10:06. So if I can get a motion to
Also
approve the minutes.
To adopt the minutes.
Can I get a seconder, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Okay, excellent. We move on to number 4.2.1, the tree voting council.
Are you opening the floor?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I would have my hand up when you finish up, but I
Oh.
didn't want to speak to this, so.
Do you want to speak before we move on to 4.2.1?
Is this regarding the 26th one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry, but let me just open this
Okay.
up first. Okay, so 4.2.1, which is Treaty 6 territory acknowledgement, and we'll that's right.
okay, I appreciate the correspondence received from the residents of Orange requesting the land acknowledgement and the flying of the Treaty 6 flag. I would just like to share with our viewers that I'm quite surprised that in 2014 this request was not received in a positive way. So today I would like to say that my understanding is that, well, I for myself understand that yes, we are located on Treaty 6 territory, and as stated in the treaties, the promise was that the land would be used to the depth of the spade. And a young man who I had the privilege of learning from yesterday actually taught me that when the elders speak to the depth of the spade in regards to treaty signing, they usually refer to the area from the shoulder to the heart as being the depth of the spade, and that was the agreement. The residents who have submitted this letter to speak of the bounty found in the La Ronge and Little Ronge area, and I, for one, fully support this request. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to speak? I'll just bring it to you as far as some more information as to what you've been able to uncover as far as flagpole and everything. Do you have anything you can add to that?
Sure, Mayor. So I just got the quote from our building maintenance manager here this afternoon. It's $1,900 to install a second pole outside of Town Hall, which would be, we'd have to work out the location, be adjacent to the town flag. And if council recalls, then during budget, I put $5,000 into the budget for council special initiatives. So when those one items come up, we're not trying to figure out where the money is going to come from. So it could be drawn from the $5,000 put in the budget for the council special initiatives. So I think the quote actually for the flagpole is actually quite reasonable, given my experience. And yeah, the funding came up from the special initiatives fund. So.
Councilor Sharp?
From the absolute bounty that we do receive from the land that we are on within the treaty, I think that $1,900 is a very small move towards a very large act of reconciliation by honoring the treaty lands and raising the flag and making that public recognition. So I would like to move that we approve from our special spending fund the erection of an additional flagpole out front of the town office for the purpose of raising the Treaty 6 flag.
Do you have a seconder for that?
If I can just,
Yep.
just make sure we have an amount in the motion, so it'd be from that.
Total upset of $2,000.
$2,000 would be fine to be drawn from it. So it's just for audit purposes, we need to
Okay.
put it on the resolution, or the motion, sorry.
Does that include tax and the flag? Yes?
It's, that'll cover off the taxes, yeah.
I think the flag would be within the CAO spending funds.
Yeah, we can find something there.
I don't know.
Okay, so any further questions, comments, or concerns? That was very good, seconder. Is there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion is carried. We move on to CAO administration reports, starting with the airport snowblower gearbox replacement. Would you like to speak? Oh, is it Jim? You're on the line?
Jim is on the line, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah.
Okay. Yes, the airport snow blower, excuse me, I've got documents in front of me, the wrong one. Here we go. This was just something we just discovered. It was during planned maintenance on the snow blower. Our town mechanics, they had to remove the main gearbox in order to do the planned maintenance. And when they did that, they discovered that it was in pieces, pretty much. Surprising that it was running at all. As you might have noticed in the report, they estimated about 30% of the teeth in the gears were broken off and laying in the bottom of the box, of the gearbox. Our town mechanic did the research on this, contacted the manufacturer of the gearbox to discover that a new gearbox is $60,000. This plan, option 2 was through contact with the manufacturer Snowwolf, the company that built and provided us with the snowblower. They have made it a practice of rebuilding these gearboxes and have had success with it. And according to our town mechanic, it seems like a reliable, suitable option, and obviously, and a lot less money, as you saw. The reason it says the cost is between $12,000 to $20,000 is because the way it would work is they would send us a rebuild gearbox, and we send them ours, and then they rebuild it. And depending on what it takes to rebuild it, it could vary a little bit in cost. So we don't have an exact number of going that route, but it's considerably less. Anything else I should note before I defer to you for questions? Just highlight, as you read in the report, this snowblower is a piece of equipment that is 100% eligible for replacement through the Airport Capital Assistance Program, the federal program. However, it will not be eligible for applying for a replacement for another 10 years. It's a 2010 snowblower, and airport equipment is not eligible for ACAP until after 20 years of service. So our town mechanic considers the snowblower to be in very good condition otherwise. Obvious, and it's obvious that it's a very critical piece of equipment at the airport that we can't do without. So the whole financial implications in discussing it with our CAO and our CFO, this was unexpected, so it was not in the airport budget for this year. But in discussions with the CAO and the CFO, it's felt that the cost for a rebuild gearbox can be covered in the 2021 budget. And as I noted already, it's simply something we have to do, and we want to do it, as cost effective as possible. So, recommendation is that that council approve having a rebuilt put into the snowblower, as was stated in the issue report there. Any questions?
Thanks, Jim. We'll go with Councillor Walker to sign
No,
first.
sorry, I'll pull that question out. Yeah, actually answered it.
Perfect. Councillor Bashar?
So I see here that the CAO and CFO is confident that the cost of the rebuild box can be covered in the 2021 budget. The 2021 budget has some very slim margins, so I'm wondering if there's any actions anticipated at the airport specifically to adjust to be able to accommodate that within the airport budget.
I can answer that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I did take a look at my budget with the latest numbers, and at this point, I don't see, I was not able to find something that I felt we could do without in order to cover this, which is why I went to the CAO and the CFO. Just stating that I did look into it, but I didn't find the extra money.
Okay, so we're just going to let Stephen speak really quick.
Yeah, so there is a number of variances happening in the budget right now, one of which are turnover in staff or vacancies is high. We've also got unexpected savings on SAS Power because we're getting a 10% rebate. So I've estimated right now we should be in just shy of probably $75,000 in improvements right now, trying to look out, and we're also just tightening the belt up. I mean, we're still finding expenses, so I'm not worried about finding $20,000.
I'm just curious as a follow-up, you weren't able to look at your budget and see any opportunities to cut it back a bit, but are there additional potential revenue sources that can be pursued at the airport for this year coming, considering restrictions lifting and some of the improvements that are potentially coming to the airport?
We are seeing a bit of an uptick in revenues, as things lift a little bit, but we're still at around probably, well, I didn't look at last month's numbers yet, but over a month ago we were still at about 55%, and I would guesstimate that we're around 60% now, and it'll climb a little bit. We're already halfway through the year, so you know, it's gonna hurt a little bit again this year revenue-wise, as we come out of COVID. We're still short.
Okay.
Councilor Reese.
Jim, hi, it's Viviana here. So just a couple, 3 questions for you. So the first one is, I imagine this is the largest snow blower at the airport. Do you have smaller ones that complement the work of this larger one is my first question. My second question is, what brand is it? I'm just doing a little bit of research online just to find out more about the snow blower. And my third question is, obviously when it snows, you use a snow blower, but is it like heavy use or is it light use, or what can you tell me? Like, I know nothing about airport snow blowers, so you can enlighten me in any way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand that. I have a lot of people ask me that, oh, a snowblower, like they think of the one that they have in their driveway at home, but no, this is a, if you recall, we have had them in the parade in the past, on Canada's Day, that if you remember that great big orange snowblower that looks almost kind of looks like a combine. It's a huge piece of equipment.
Okay.
It has 2 diesel motors on it, one for the drivetrain, one dedicated for the snowblower. It can blow a 4-foot wide snowbank that is 6 feet high. It can blow it like 7,500 yards off the runway. So it's a big piece of equipment, and that's why a gearbox for this piece of equipment is the cost that it is. You know, but also, yeah, to your third question there, it's a critical piece of equipment. Because we have runway edge lights and we have apron edge lights, we cannot simply push the snow off the aprons or off the runway. We have to windrow it to one edge and create windrows, and then we use the snow blower to blow the snow away off of the strip. So all that to say, yeah, it's a critical piece of our maintenance operations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Diskey.
I just prepared to make a motion that we go ahead and purchase the rebuild one. It's the safest way to go, and hopefully we'll get another 9 years out of it and qualify for a new piece of equipment in the year 20.
I can make a suggestion, Mr. Mayor, just if you're okay, Councilor Diskey, just that we include up to spending $20,000. Again, just for audit purposes, just put a dollar amount in there if you're okay with it.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Thanks, Jim. We move on. Oh, sorry. I jumped it again. I'm so sorry. The proposal award for the airport airfield line painting, and everything is in here. Does anybody have any questions for Jim?
I don't know. I'm going to make a motion that we award, or follow the administrative recommendation to award the line painting to bidder 2.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion's carried. Now I think that's done, right, for Jim?
That's correct.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Yeah, good night.
You take care.
Okay, we'll move on to 4.3.3, which is the monthly building moving demolition and development permit report. Are you wanting to speak on that, or Robbie?
Robbie is online.
Okay, Robbie, is there anything in particular here that you need to point out to us?
In particular, this in regards to, the demolition permit or the tax enforcement,
The building moving and demolition permit.
Full demolition permit stats report, basically things are, I guess, are a little slow these days, and I guess the lumber prices are affecting things. I do have a few permits that are ongoing, I do expect to come in, but nothing pretty much other to report.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'd like to move to receive and file the report as presented.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, motion's carried. Move on to the application of provincial mediation board to shorten waiting period for tax enforcement. And Robbie, did you want to speak on behalf of that? Is there anything specifically that that you need to add to this?
Yeah, yes, There's in regards to a property over on Dalby Crescent there. In regards to, I guess it's abandoned, or I don't know if we've had all the chance to review the report. Just gotta be careful of confidentiality and stuff. I guess it's under the care of the public trustee, but the public trustee has waived the rights. So I'm trying to address the concern with the property. It's really owned by no one, and looking into it, removing the tax enforcement as we are going through the tax service as we right now with it. We're trying to speed things up in order to, so we can remove the property and the party back in the town's name.
Yeah, if I can, Mr. Mayor, this property has been abandoned for, I believe, 3 years. It's been boarded up, and this is just to move the process along and prevent the trustee cannot fund any family members of the individual that is deceased and passed away, and this is just strictly to move the process up so that the town can take title and move to start cleaning up the property and get it back into a stable state. And the trustee has waived all rights on it.
Okay. I'll move to, that tax service be authorized to apply to the provincial mediation board to shorten the 6-month waiting period on the aforementioned land, and that tax service be authorized to commence proceedings to request title with respect to the following land. Do we need the land description verbally, or is as presented in the report acceptable?
We'll need the actual land description.
Okay, for lot 37, block 21, plan 79 PA 25319, extension 0, title 1306 34175.
Thank you, Councilor. Do I have a seconder? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. We move on to the final consideration of the discretionary use in the C3 Shoreline Commercial Zoning District. And this slowly comes up here.
Yeah, so this is just the final consideration for the discretionary use for the marina/dwelling unit of the C3 Shoreline Zoning District. To the town to receive any concerns after doing the discretionary use process and recommending the final approval.
Okay, over the floor. Any questions?
So there was no public comment from neighbors or anything except the one inquiry?
Yeah, correct. There's just the one inquiry to know a little bit more about what's going on there. So we just provided them some information.
And
Didn't have any concerns.
And the proposed development is going to be built above the SBE, of course?
Yeah, we'll have to ensure, I advised the applicant about the safe building elevation provided the hazard lands documentation. Someone will have to address during the development phase, but it will be a condition on the development permit that, the main floor of the building, bottom floor choice has to be above the safe building elevation. I'll have to work through the details.
And do we have, my glasses are not with me.
That's very good.
I have a question. So, based on our downtown revitalization pieces that we spoke about, has the applicant been made aware that we do have some plans for downtown revitalization and that there may be an aesthetic requirement in the near future?
No, I haven't, and we have to review the application as of today's date. If there's someone coming down the pipe later on, we can maybe bring it to their attention, but I wasn't aware of that, sorry.
Okay.
Right now, we're just bound by what's regulated in the zoning bylaw. There is some landscaping requirements, but I don't think they would really apply in this case. I'd have to review it. That stuff can be dealt with.
So this lot is significantly within the estimated peak water level and even further from the safe building elevation. So do we have any idea on the amount of fill required or where the footprint of the building is going, how much will remain below the estimated peak water level and where they'll have to flood-proof up to?
No, I guess we don't have that information. That's up to I guess the applicant will have to design the building as such. He's working with the engineer as we speak, I guess. He's first going for the development phase. He still has to work with his engineer about the building elevation. All we have have right now, it's just the site plan and where the building's gonna be located. I don't even know I know our drawings show one thing for the water level. I don't actually know the real estimated peak water level at this time, or how much fill he has to bring in. He hasn't gone grades on the lot either, so.
Okay.
I know we do have those maps in our zoning bylaw, the topography, but actually how much fill he has to bring in, I'm not too sure.
Okay. Robbie,
Yep.
I may have asked this before, but can you tell me in layman's terms, across from, next to exactly where this location would be?
What's it, beside the old Video Mania building?
Okay,
As a reference point, right now currently there's a small little shack or small white building that's on that lot.
yeah,
It's set further back and deep in there. Used to be a for sale sign on just a reference point, but that was years ago.
okay, thank you.
Councilor Bouchard?
Yeah, so, I guess the question I have is, with the building height, if this building is being constructed on the lot, where is the building height being measured from? Because if I recall correctly, this application was for a very tall building to the maximum allowable height.
I forget I think I bet the zoning requirements, but I should have grade elevation for the first 2 points in the zoning bylaw. I'd have to review the building height, but I believe we're splitting the zoning bylaw now. The maximum height of the C3 zoning district. I remember not having any concerns. I guess if they do have to bring 10 feet in, but I'd have to review the application.
Yeah, because I think that,
Because, yeah, we don't know the actual grade of the property, you might only have to bring a couple feet, right? This is zoning by the maximum building height. So all the uses, they're allowed almost 40 feet, so 39.34,
okay, so it's not a 60-foot height limit.
yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Diskey? You have something?
Yeah, the only, like, I'm in support of the development going ahead. I was just concerned about the aesthetics of it, and there was something they could do to, to try and fit in with the theme that we've got downtown, we're trying to form downtown.
Is that?
Yeah, that would be something, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Robbie.
I was gonna say that would probably be something you'd have to write to the zoning bylaw. I believe like other cities have like aesthetic, like, I forget what kind of requirements, like you could have like a non-flat wall, it has to be able to jet out. There's something to do like that, but I believe you have to do that by bylaw.
So, I mean, that's something of consideration, then, if that's what the will of council is, right? So, is that something that we want to go back to and request for further before we move forward with this, or?
Just a couple comments. So under the highway master plan RFP that's out on the market, there is aesthetics, there's all that kind of stuff built into what the highway's gonna look like. If we're seeing development knock down the door right now, I'd say let's elevate up, let's get that figured out. But probably by early next year, once we get through the budget, whole town, downtown master plan, and identifying deficiencies and all that, my suggestion is, and if there's more coming down the pipe, then let's update it and get some design standards in. But if not, let's defer it, because it's a work plan for next year, per the strategic plan, to do a downtown revitalization or whatever, a refreshment plan. That'll include in that.
Councilor Bouchard?
Yeah, we saying no to development for the sake of aesthetics is kind of, well, there's precedent that the town doesn't really, we appreciate development coming to town, we appreciate economic development in our downtown, new businesses, getting land use to its highest and best use is important. Considering what's been on that lot for a long time, it's a quirky little sight to see, but to see it get used, I think would be, I would like to see that personally.
Okay, do we want a motion on the table?
One last statement, just I think we owe the applicant though the due diligence of informing them that in the near future, there may be an aesthetic requirement, right?
But you can't back that one.
I can't go back.
Yeah.
To Councilor Ruiz's question, we will follow up with them and have a chat.
Yeah, just so they know, because we don't want them a year and a half, like, oh, by the way, now you have to
Well, we'll work with them as best we can.
Yeah,
And that, I like just to add, I mean, that would probably be every property, not just the one individual lottery. So it's not a record, yeah.
Yeah.
Built to the quarter of the day, I guess you would say.
Okay.
and if I recall correctly, our building department has worked with multiple applicants along the downtown to ensure that properties aren't unsightly with new developments, especially in that little area as well. I know there's been a lot of work working with applicants, so I trust our administration to look out for the town's best interest.
We know.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the table? Oh, sorry. I think Jordan, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Just a quick question that I have in regards to the discretionary use application. If I recall correctly, and I did quickly look through the final consideration here, and I didn't see it. Is there a living quarters or a caretaker suite on this lot as well?
There is it's not a caretaker suite. I guess dwelling units are a discretionary unit, discretionary in the C3 zoning district. It's not a caretaker, it's a dwelling unit, different definition, different use.
Okay.
And it is a discretionary use inside the building, small, 2-story, but the dimension's not a huge property. That's a dwelling unit, different than caretaker.
Thank you. So with that, although I do want economic development in our downtown core, I want economic development in ways of, businesses on our front line. And I would urge councillors to vote against the final consideration here based on the fact that there is a dwelling unit. I don't believe that just due to the fact that you run a business in our downtown core, that you also have a dwelling as a part of that business. And for that, I will be voting at this point against the motion, and would urge other councillors to consider the same.
Okay, are we throwing a motion on the table?
I'll move.
Can I have a moment to review, because it wasn't part of this report, to relook at the whole, to make sure we didn't miss anything.
I think there's an initial drawing, isn't it?
Or do we take?
Initial drawing showed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need some direction on what we're doing here. So do we need more time to table it and move? Or are
I
you
don't
willing
see
to?
how, if the dwelling is acceptable in the C3 zoning, there's other businesses with dwellings attached to them. I don't see that as a reason to turn it down.
For sure,
It brings up the value of the property and
Okay, well, okay, councillors, you are welcome to put a motion on the table if you need.
I'll put a motion on the table and we'll vote, I guess. I move that having completed this.
I'm going to second that motion.
Sorry, just one sec, just can you complete that full motion so I can get it again?
Okay. I move that having completed the discretionary use process for mixed-use development for proposed marina dwelling unit located on Block 11C, Plan CU 2994 be approved for the current calendar year and conditional to continued compliance with Section 4.19 of bylaw number 572-16.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Councillor Bashar, I know that you needed a bit of time there.
No, I have it in front of me.
You're okay?
Yeah, I'm just double checking.
Okay.
I think one comment that I'd like to make is when you're doing a marina business, you almost need to live there. If you've got clients coming in,
Yes.
I think it's important for that business plan, I think it's important. So.
Okay. Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Okay.
Okay, the motion's carried. We move on to the office supply RFP.
I'll make a motion to accept council's administration's recommendation. I mean, it's all in front of us, I'm sure we can all read it.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Sorry, I went too fast.
Okay. We move on to 4.3.7, which is the telephone and internet RFP.
I will declare conflict of interest, and if I can receive a text message as to when I can join back into the call, I'm declaring conflict as a matter that will involve my employer as well.
Sure, thank you. So we do have Wade Peterson on the line in case anybody has any questions. And I'll defer this to Steve, if you want to talk a little bit about.
I guess just very quickly, so when I came here, two things. One, a lot of the network connectivity between town centers, I'll be blunt, was poor. And it kind of prevents connectivity from different areas. Our IT structures are broken. And so with this intent was to kind of level the playing field, make sure we get everything connected in, we're all in one slice and put it all out. And put an RFP out, and Access came with a superior proposal. And in addition, they're offering to put free Wi-Fi into the Hegland and the airport, and also in a proposal committed to raising the corporate social profile of the Access in the Orange and the Tri-Community areas. So, and Wade Peterson is the commercial sales manager, head sales manager for Access based out of Regina.
Thanks for being here, Wade. Hey,
Thank you, everybody.
any questions regarding the RFP?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, Wade. Viviana Rees Arcan here. I do have a question on page 3. You probably don't have this, but it says SaskTel Wi-Fi available only to SaskTel customers presently, but can be optionally expanded to be used by anybody. Can you explain what that means?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so typically in past experience and in the RFP it stated that when they put SaskTel Wi-Fi into a building, it's only for SaskTel customers. So if you're an Access customer, you're a Bell customer, or if you're somebody from out of town, you want to come in and use it, you have to be a SaskTel customer. Whereas Access, it's universal. So if you have an event there, a figure skating competition, and somebody out of town who's a Bell customer in Edmonton wants to come in and use it, it's there. When I did ask them about it, they said it's negotiable and it's optional. They could look at making it right across the board, but for example, in Prince Albert right now, they got through all their facilities and it's only for SaskTel customers only.
Oh.
Only.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Steve. It's SaskTel Select, so their services will only work with SaskTel phones. Where we use a managed Wi-Fi system, so it's right across the board. It doesn't matter what your device is, you have the connectivity through it no matter what.
So there was a
service provider through your cell phone.
If I can highlight though, they were open to discussing, but an RFP was for SaskTel Wi-Fi customers only, whereas Access, it was right across the board.
Okay, sorry, my apologies. I thought you were with SaskTel.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
That's what I was going
to
to do.
Yes, but I was reading, not listening, sorry.
Just for a point of interest, was SaskTel offered the ability to call in tonight?
They were not, no.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused why Wade is on the line.
Just any questions, because we're recommending Access tonight for the final bid. That's why if it was up to council, we're having more discussion, but we're recommending Access if there's any questions on
Okay,
it.
great. I just want to be clear on that. Councillor Watt?
Thanks for joining us tonight there, Wade. What comes to the floor here was improving your corporate identity in our community. Can you explain to Mayor and Council what type of spending you've done in other communities to enhance what we're...
That's a great question, thank you. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with what our FOS is for Access Communication. So we've been around for over 40 years. And we are 100% Saskatchewan, only Saskatchewan. We're in 235 communities throughout the province. And in those 235, because we're a not-for-profit cooperative, every single dollar we make, we reinvest back into the communities. So we've had several major projects throughout Saskatchewan. And so, example, partnership with the city of North Battleford, but we've also run several different, we have a charity that we give back. We've given back over $2 million for high-risk children throughout Saskatchewan. We also invest in technology, and that technology being kind of the core of our organization. When we started with TV, branched into internet, now we're into phones. We have security, so we have a wide range of stuff that ultimately is to enhance every community that we serve. And Larange is no different. We've been involved with back in the day when it was Cable Larange, and I don't know if how many of you remember, but Marilyn Chernoff was the regional manager up there. And so we've reinvested several times over it. And this project and this proposal also will enhance not only the technology piece for the community or for the town itself, it's also going to enhance the quality of life through technology for your residents. And the big thing that you're all is probably a very sore spot is power. But ultimately, we're making a very large investment ensuring that we have standby power that keeps that community running. When the power does go out, our services can stay up. So that's an important aspect of what we're proposing. But there's several, like there's projects we've had fiber optic projects running from Regina down to Beanfate because it was completely underserved in Weyburn and Estevan and all those surrounding communities down the road. We also have several great projects that we've done recently. We partnered up with One Arrow First Nation, and we did a rural wireless internet program that provided connectivity to every single building and dwelling within One Arrow's First Nation. So the list, I can go, I don't want to keep you guys all night, but there is several projects. And again, our mantra is about giving back to the communities we serve through either its charity, through our children's fund, even through our community programming channels. I was the community programming manager for several years. We did several great programs, reflecting the communities we serve. And Larange is definitely no exception. We have great programming that came out of Larange. And that's, again, our way of giving back to communities, because there is a cost to make television and a cost for the infrastructure. So hopefully that answers enough of your question for you.
I'm not going to belabor this much further, but just for my knowledge and share this knowledge with the rest of council, one of the big issues with our internet system here in Larange is that fiber optics cable, referred to as a pipe and pushing water through a pipe. You get a lot more water through a 6-inch pipe, obviously, than you would a 3/4-inch pipe. And it's come to my attention that one of the issues, and you alluded to it, was our fiber optics cable is too small. So are you saying we will you have the abilities of enhancing that service within Larange, utilizing some of the SaskTel infrastructure?
Well, there is infrastructure in place on the way up. Our that we have access to as a provincial government. We are required to supply access to their piece of it. But that's just a tiny portion of the overall thing. And if I can explain fiber, a fiber is just it is a cable. It's a transport, and all it is glass, and it's light waves going over that glass that carries information. And the cool thing with fiber, though, is yes, back in the day, if you didn't put enough of it and it got overused, then yes, you could potentially run into problems. And most likely we would run more infrastructure. These days, it's not like that. And the reason why I say that is we use what's called multi-link fiber. So you can use one piece of glass and you send different frequencies on that same one little tiny piece of glass that can carry the information. So we can carry a lot more data, and filling the pipe up isn't a problem anymore. So I get a little more sophisticated on it, but
no, that's fine.
Straight answer. Yeah.
So it's more of a statement than anything, but I do appreciate seeing the proposal that Access has put forward. I'm a pretty staunch supporter of crown corporations because of what they mean, but from the perspective of your company, I have seen really great things just generally within the community and competitiveness with the Crown Corp, as well as this proposal offering a few additional positive highlights that I think I would throw my support behind the administration's recommendation on this.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, just for council's clarification, so what we're moving forward tonight is the elephant. It's telephone and internet. It's been a long day. And then the second part is once we get confirmation from the feds around the airport grant, we'll bring that back. And then the Wi-Fi agreement, because we still need to come up with an agreement allowing them access into our facilities, that will come back for clarification. So tonight, the big ticket item is just getting them moving with the telephone internet for town facilities.
Okay, so I'll make those motions, or the motion and all in one, so there's 3 pieces to the administrative recommendation. That the telephone and internet request for proposal be awarded to Access Communications for a period of 5 years with an option to renew for another 5 years. That the fiber connectivity to the airport be brought back separately to council for approval once the outside funding has been approved. That a Wi-Fi agreement for the Uniplex and airport be brought back once reached with Access Communications.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion's carried. Thank you, Wade. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your commitment to the
Thanks for your
community.
patience.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll,
Thanks,
you got him? Okay. Just wait for Jordan to get back on here and we'll continue.
Would there be a moment for 5 minutes?
Sure, let's recess for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then
while we
follow
look
Jordan's
for
back on.
reconnect.
Yep.
Again, drinking too much coffee.
Yeah.
You got a minute for smoke break there, Joe? You got a minute for a smoke break?
Yeah. Can I start? Yeah, it'd be easier if I walked around a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
Get some remembering of my mix.
Are we on break?
We're on break, we're waiting for you to reconnect, so, I think they said 20 minutes, that sounds long, so I must be wrong, but, yeah, we're taking a break.
I'll just keep it going in the background once I hear you call
Sure.
back, or I'll jump over.
Where did everyone go?
Great.
Okay.
Sorry, Jordan, we're on a 5-minute recess.
He said I told him 20,
Oh, you did.
I said, but that sounds wrong, I said, so he just said keep it off. Because I was like listening and typing something with somebody to get some information right there. So yeah.
I'm glad we're switching over to access. Huh? We only have 5 minutes, buddy. There's no time for a smoke.
Go smoke it back. Let's go.
You should have said no,
I don't
Colin.
want you guys crying.
Oh,
You'd be like, what? Just kidding. Sorry.
We're only an hour and 20 minutes into the meeting.
I know. So I think the other, some of those other pieces are gonna move fast, except for 2 that will be, I know will not be fast.
Yep.
Are we being recorded right now? Are we still
We're
live?
still live, yeah.
Oh, okay. What I do want to suggest is at some point in time, and I don't even know how to do this, if we develop sort of like, and I know we have our code of ethics, but around the preciseness and conciseness of meetings, I'm not really sure if there's even anything we can do around that.
What do you mean conciseness?
Like, I find that sometimes we, like, hash out things over and over again, and
So that's, so the best way you can do is you can, like, if you feel like that's happening, you
So we
can
need
just,
to move on.
you
Yeah.
can, you can just say, I call the question.
I'll call the motion, yeah, okay.
Just about
Sure.
to say, it's a, the formal is called.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
And you absolutely have the means to do that, which is
Mhm, mhm.
sometimes necessary, and I do my best. But yeah, I like to give everyone a chance to be heard, but sometimes you're
No,
right.
for sure.
It does go on far too long,
Yeah.
and everyone has the right to speed it along. And that's why, like, you know, when typically when someone has a question, I'll go to, say, you, and then I'll go back, and then if you have another one, that way it gives the opportunity that if you feel it's going around too much, then you can say, I call the question, so that when it comes back to you, then you can just eat.
See, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna let you go off, yeah?
Okay.
So see, we're number 2.
We are number
We
2.
split 2 spots this afternoon, we're down to 35 now.
Are we?
Yeah, so I went down to 35.
So the thing is, as long as we are top 4 in
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, then we get to submit a proposal why we should win $100,000.
Oh, even better yet.
Yes.
I haven't seen us move from number 2 for a while.
I
so
know, there's still 10 days though, and I'm still like, or whatever, 9 days I guess now.
I'm gonna throw a challenge out to the staff. My line share is waiting for me number 1 in Saskatchewan next week, so.
And do you know what the population of Milestone is?
It's more, you know, it's more.
It's 700. So I think that we can
You
do
must
it.
have exercise buddies set up in the.
No kidding, I know. Well, we're back down to 33, so that's good.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. I'm gonna bring that up. As it benefits everyone.
My dogs were telling me not to smoke.
Better be using our help here, quit smoking.
And he went,
Everybody has their smoke, eh, you?
Yeah, my dogs wade into the conversation also.
I can tell them, my dogs were coughing and they started barking at you guys, you quit smoking.
Sorry, Vivian, just in the motion now.
Your dogs are so rude. Well, I'm glad you switched over to ours. My service has been great. Mind you, they did have to come back 5 times. Okay. Is that the picture of you standing out in the snow?
It is, no. I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll call the meeting back to order. We're moving on to 4.3.8, which is the crosswalk repainting with tricolor. Steve Brown, I'll give you the floor for this.
Yeah, just very quickly, council, seeking council approval tonight to close Boardman on this Friday, just to allow for repaint the crosswalk. We had in the budget this year to start repainting the crosswalks anyways. And we're using a safe enough paint that a couple kids from pre-K, and looks like maybe even some from Churchill come out and repaint the crosswalk. So it's the 2 crosswalks going across Boardman. And just to get it done safely, we need to close the street. If we finish up earlier, we'll of course open it up, and we've got the notifications all ready to go for tomorrow, council approves it tonight. So it is in the budget for paint supplies.
Any questions? Maybe like the motion on the table?
Also move.
So those have to be done anyway?
Sorry, just one
Yeah,
second.
I
So,
think yes.
sorry, there's a motion on the table and we'll open up the question. So I just need a seconder.
I'll second.
Okay, and sorry, what was your question, Councillor Hairsky? No, I missed your questions because I was just, know that. And then was it that they need to be done anyways, correct? Is that what you said? Yeah, okay, no, that's correct, right? Okay, any other further questions, comments? All right, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion is carried. We move on to 4.3.9, which is the shoreline enforcement update. And this is slowly, let's pull up here too. Okay. Steve, did you want to speak a little bit?
Just very quickly, council, this is just to give on the record form authorization for myself to begin negotiations to look at coming up with a price to sell those municipal reserve properties that are adjacent. That's all it is, just see
And just for clarification, this is then, it would then go to the ministry, is that right?
So I can walk through the process, Mr. Mayor. So the authorization, we come up with the agreed price. We'll have to get a fair market value assessment done because of course I don't want to enter into selling a property for $800 when it's worth $50. We come up with a agreed price with those property owners that we get. We come back to council, we get the bylaw moving to sell the properties, and then the bylaw has to go to the ministry to have said final approval once council authorizes. So this is just the authority to start the process of selling it.
I'll make a motion that the administration be authorized to move forward with soliciting offers from 2 out of the 3 property owners for the sale of the municipal reserve land adjacent to their property.
Just a point of interest, do we need to be specific with the 2 out of the 3 properties in this motion?
It is coming back to council for final approval after it goes through tonight. It's the property description. This is just to get it on record that the authorization is being filed.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, any comments, questions?
Does this, go ahead, Drew, or Councilor Phil.
So, the question I have is in reference to, the authorization of soliciting property owners. Within our land purchasing policies, as a matter of procedure, would anybody have the right to purchase municipal lands?
Under that avenue, yes, you're correct. Other property owners could buy those properties. That is correct. We could make an offer, yes.
So the question that I would then have for council is, would we deem it appropriate with any sale of property that we only solicit adjacent property owners? I understand that there's an issue within shoreline leasing, but from my perspective, if we are going to offer municipal reserve land for sale to anybody, then if we are legally allowed to do so, then I don't think it would be fair as an organization to reach out and only offer it to adjacent property landowners. And for that reason, I would urge council not to support the motion as it is written.
Councilor Bishara?
Is it I'm trying to rack my brain if I remember or not, the sale of public property, is that a public tender process? Is that required for the public tender process, especially with municipal reserve? I know that like the agreement to sell the property is at the discretion of council, but
If that is council so choose, Councilor Bishara, we can put it for public tender.
wait, but are we required to?
If it's not in bylaw legislation, I mean, as you know, Councilor, we can deviate from policy if council wants to authorize just selling to making it available just to the 2 of the 3 property owners, because it is just a sliver of land adjacent to their already owned property.
Does this, here's another question for you. Does this get attached to their title of the property as well, or are they separate titles?
Depends if, through the sale process, we can amalgamate them in, or if they want to, they can actually push it in. Quite often, they will actually merge the titles together. They get taxed the same, so it's not a matter of them reducing taxes. Where it benefits them a bit is if there's a flat tax on a vacant land, they would avoid that by merging the titles together.
Right, because my concern again, because if we're talking about, selling this and opening this up to the public, is that if they're not tied together, I mean, not that it would make any sense, but in essence, a property owner could sell them separately if they're not titled together, correct?
Yes, if
Okay.
any property owner in Saskatchewan has the ability to subdivide and sell off parcels of land if they want to.
Got it. Councilor Bishara?
There's 2 protections that we would have against that. We could require for the sale that the property be tied, so legally they are treated as one property. And 2, the municipality could put an interest on the title that only the municipality can release that states that this land must be, or some caveat that is within our legislative rights to do. And those instruments are pretty binding on land, so the property cannot be sold without that interest being considered.
Understand.
Yeah, I agree with putting a caveat against the property, so no improvements can be built on. And that I think is perfectly legal.
Councilor Watt?
It clearly states here 2 out of the 3. The third, he does is that auction, or what's up?
There's currently a number of enforcement issues on that one right now, and we'll come back at a later date.
Okay. So are we, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
I,
I need
Sorry.
to abstain because I'm without the information, if it is legally required that we put it to public tender.
Councillor Reese, you were an aye, or you didn't say?
I'm a nay.
Okay, and anyone says nay, you say nay,
Nay.
and you're nay as well?
Mm-hmm. Nay.
So that's 3, 2, 1 abstain.
Abstain is actually a vote in the negative.
Negative, yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna be in favor, so that's gonna be motion carried. Okay. So, moving on to 4.3.10, community policing strategy, as presented. I can't wait till our.
I move to receive as information and file.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to add a couple comments.
Please.
We can put it on, it's just to give council a bit of a heads up. We will have some stuff coming back here in July, because we have a bit of a window between meetings. We're working with our council this year now to tighten up our bylaws and working with the RCP to develop a new process around targeting some of our frequent flyer properties in the community. So the ones that cause the RCP the most of our issues,
Okay,
which will come back in July.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, comments? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Okay, so now we go on to the additions that were brought to the agenda, which is the verbal report for the petition for the construction of a dirt bike track. And if I remember correctly, this is just to receive and file, right?
Just a quick update, that's all it is on that one. I did speak to the originator of the petition. There's no funding in place, nor do they have a plot of land set up for it. They're actually looking for the town to take the lead on developing it. I referred back saying that the town will be a very good partner on that, but however, they will have to come up with the initiative to start identifying land, getting some funding sources and all that. She was under the impression because they did the petition, the town would actually pull it all together. So anyways, I left a message with her and I did commit to council giving a quick update back and the council requested it. So I'm waiting for her to come back to me with her updated plan in terms of how, like where the land locations may be, the whole nine yards. So.
Okay. So that's just receive and file, and I guess, hey? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, need a motion on the table, please. To receive and file. Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Next one, which is a verbal report for Northern Lights Hockey Development, and there is an email here from Lynette Merriman. I'll let you speak on that.
So just one second, is this for information only, or will there be a motion potentially to come out of
There
this?
could be one motion coming out of this.
Okay, well, I've got the report in front of me. I mean, if there's a motion, I'll step out, and paperwork's in front of me, you know, I'll step out of it.
There's a potential motion here.
So maybe I should.
Thanks, Councilor Rock. So this was not out to the public then, right?
Nope, I just got it this morning.
Okay. So just a point of information for anyone who's watching or listening. We received a email today from Lynette Merriman, which I'm assuming she's on the board.
Correct, she's a trader.
Okay, it just states, I'll read this. Here is a follow-up as requested. As per request on June 8th meeting, we applied for CDBA, which is $60,000, I'm assuming that's dollars. $40,000 has to be paid back. Also received CEWS in the amount of $55,000. We received approximately $100,000 from SHA and SJHL. We use this money to offset wages, equipment, travel for the pre-games and away game sticks, equipment, jerseys, etc. have also been ordered, so still need to be paid. We had our head coach and assistant coach on salary through all of COVID, as we could not afford to lose them, and yet still ended up having to replace our assistant coach. All our fundraising efforts had to be canceled because of COVID, which included jail bails, fairs, games, sportsman's dinner, fundraising raffles, all if all if which cost us about $500,000 last year in missed revenues. There are a lot of unknowns going into the season with sponsorship, etc. The community is a positive diversion coming out of COVID and what an elite junior A hockey brings. We can help the youth get back what they lost during COVID and encourage recreation and healthy lifestyles. We humbly ask for any assistance the town can provide.
Mr. Mayor, to suggest from the previous meeting where they were requesting the fees be waived for the upcoming hockey season, which was $15,000. The council requested further information on what financial assistance the club has received.
Okay, any discussion around that? Any motions coming on the table? Go ahead.
Because of all the things that have gone, last year's fair by council was a big fundraiser for them. I'm not sure what the status of this year's fair is. Canada Day was a big fundraiser for the high schools. They had a food booth out there and everything else. We canceled that. There's a number of things that basically distract your fundraising, and I think the team's important to the community, and I think it's important just spreading it out for one way,
Okay, so just supporting information that Elks Fair has been canceled this year too. Go ahead.
So just as a point of information to clarify, the space within the community festivities granted to the Ice Wolves was as a food vendor as part of the La Ronge Children's Festival, which happened to happen on Canada Day, but organized by a separate group of volunteers not affiliated with Canada Day, if that makes any sense. So it's basically the Children's Festival Committee giving permission to the Ice Wolf concession trailer to set up as a food vendor during the Children's Festival. Is really what it is.
Thank you. Any other discussion or any motions on the table?
So I just want to make sure council is aware, if there's no motion, if it's a receiving file, then there's no waiving of the fees for the upcoming season. If council wishes, I think the discussion was either half or all at the last meeting, half the fees be waived or all. We would need a motion to council to move that process forward.
What are the fees?
$15,000 is what was included in the budget for this upcoming year for the Ice Wolves.
That's their fee.
That's what I was told, yes.
And we have that budgeted in our expected revenues.
Correct. If council recalls, there was no other club that Tony could find, no other municipality that was waiving fees for the SGHL club this year. There's one or two that were still deciding, but the vast majority of contract was not waiving fees.
I feel it's very important, bringing hockey back. It does bring something to the community. I know many people go there, enjoy the energy. It's I think a good family event to attend when going. And that's all I'll say on that.
Sorry, Stephen, if you can refresh my mind, what financial impact, because I remember Tony giving us this information last meeting.
Yeah.
Will it have if we waive a partial amount of the fees for this club and any other club that provides youth activities? Because if you give it to one club, we need to give it to the other clubs too, right?
For sure, Councilor. I can't speak to the other groups because Tony's been away on leave since the last meeting. But that is, you're identifying, that is a bit of a risk that if you give it to one, the other ones are coming in and asking for a favor.
Yeah, and in all fairness, I would encourage them to, because most of them are non-profit, and this is it's not for profit, but they are bringing in revenue, whereas the other groups are not bringing in revenue.
If we decided to, we were able to give them half, or I should say, would we be able to give them half? Is it within our budget? Could we squeeze it out of somewhere if we decided to do half?
If that's council's will, we'll have to find it. I don't have a conclusive answer for you. I mean, we are seeing pockets open up right now, so we would like to be able to find it somewhere. $7,500 is fair. It's not all they want, but it's still something. And again, if council mandates it, we'll have to find it.
Councilor Sharp?
So I'm still not totally comfortable with waiving fees. being kind of minor piece of the budget for them. Is there a way that we can be creative and offer, if the season's impacted, is there a way that we can receive in-kind payment by the club? So the players, if they are working, volunteering at events that the town is putting on, or work fees that the town could use them for, things like that. Is there ways that we can maybe offer support in a different way where it uses the club's capacity rather than handing out money?
I'm sorry, Councilor, I'm trying to follow the logic there, and respectfully, we're still gonna move on with money if we waive it, or you suggest we don't waive it, and we find ways
We
to.
don't waive it, but give them the opportunity to work it off in a way, so that the players could, engage with the town in
Yeah,
work that
sure. So if
is.
we allow them to work it off, we're still coming out of the tax base. Either way, because it's still not, how are we generating money off their volunteering in the community?
It's not generating money, but it is also not costing us. Say it was repainting the exterior of the net.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying there, but
Yeah.
we also have staffing issues there too, in terms of replacing work and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I see your point now, but there's a bit of a challenge there.
Okay. And I'm just trying to throw out creative ideas.
Yeah, Councilor Larry?
And like, I appreciate your idea there, Abby, but, I've been a billet parent for a couple of years. The young people that come here to play hockey for us, they've got a lot on their schedule, and they do work jobs as well. They go to school, they do their hockey training. Our coach is very strict with them on what they're allowed to do, so I couldn't see, because plus they're here during the winter mostly, like what are you gonna, you can't get them to shovel and stuff, I don't think that's in the scope.
They do some community service as well.
And they do community service, they go to the schools lot, which I really appreciate, the kids love it. And not only pre-cam and Gordon Denny, they go to Center Miles Bend, and they've been out to Sucker River, and draw in that support.
Councilor Reese?
I appreciate everybody's input. But thinking of creative ways, could we, and this is a question, so I don't know if we can, could we look at giving them maybe like a 25% subsidy and then purchasing 25% of the amount in tickets and then giving out those tickets to community groups, draws, kind of incentivize, motivate the community in order to get attendance at the hockey games and create that momentum once again?
Use it for positive change.
So what you're saying is just receive tickets from them to pay their debt then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, and then administration can figure out, maybe they get donated to a community group or community groups, like I don't even know how many tickets that would be, right?
Maybe a lot of tickets.
Yeah, Councilor Sharp?
Oh, no.
No, you're good, Councilor Reese?
Okay, so their fees are paid over a period of time, correct? So some of the fees are actually due in 22.
Potentially, yeah.
We can maneuver 22 to accommodate part of that budget as long as we can't find it in this year's budget.
But what I was told by recreation manager is $15,000 in this year's budget. So I'm assuming it's December 31st.
So, just as another point of interest again, I mean, this, what came to the table at our committee as a whole is that based on the expertise of our recreation manager, is it was recommended that the town not waive the 2021-2022 Northern Lights hockey development increase based on that budget. So I just want to put that on the table. I think that we've exhausted the conversation at this time. Is there any motions on the table?
I move to provide a 50% subsidy in regards to the waivers of fees by giving $7,500 of those fees.
And I'll second.
Okay, any further comments, questions? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Sorry, my mic was muted. I just wanted to have the motion read out one more time here.
I move to have this request subsidized at 50% in the amount of $7,500.
Okay, and I'll just call the question again. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so it's carried. No, it's 3-3.
So we'll vote aye, Councilor McPhail and Bouchard.
And me.
So
Nay.
it's denied, yeah.
Denied. So we just move on, correct? Unless someone else has another motion from the table, right?
Yeah, that's the rest of the base. I mean, we're gonna have to make a motion to, either increase the subsidy or deny, I guess,
The
Can I
request.
make a
the
motion
request.
or-
So we need another motion.
We can't, it can't be a negative motion, but we can put, right?
Yeah,
Because-
so,
Because
as
if
it is
this is
generally,
a deny, then
yeah,
they have to do the full request of what was originally asked, right?
yeah, so we'd have to deny the request because at the end of the day, administration does not have the ability to grant the denial. Right, so the waiver of the fees, that's a budgetary item, that's council authority, so another
So,
motion off to be made to deny the request to waive the fees.
Right, so we have to put a positive one on and then all decline. Because we can't put a negative motion on the table. Right? So we're putting in a motion that we are approving, right, the full amount as requested. And then we're voting on that, correct?
do we have to defeat that motion, or can we just move to reject the request as
You can't.
presented?
No, because it's.
You can't put a negative motion on the floor. The motion wasn't negative. The motion was a
Correct.
positive motion that we donate, we forgive 7,500. However, that motion was defeated because it was 3-3.
Correct.
So that's correct.
So it's essentially dead on the
It's a
floor.
defeated motion.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah.
So
Sorry, I just need
I,
direction because I don't know what to do from here.
if I move to, do I have to
Yeah.
move to
And then we can-
approve
then we
the
can
request
decide,
as presented for the full $15,000?
Yeah, and then do we have a seconder for that? So it's dead again. I don't know, Jordan, do you know what to do in this
Just
situation? I'm so.
Seconding the motion doesn't mean you're in favor of it, by the way.
Correct.
Okay.
As long as the motion has been ruled defeated, of which a 3-3 vote procedurally defeats a motion, then we are back to the same square as if we just denied the approval.
Whereas in past practice, you can bring back a denial motion right after that motion. Like, I've never seen it where you have to have positive, respectfully say that, so you can bring a motion back, deny it, or
So-
whatever council wishes.
Okay, so if I rescind my motion that I put forward, I would like to move to deny the request for $15,000 waiver of fees for the Northern Lights Hockey Development League.
Can we do, I just want to be clear here, can we do that?
It has to be a motion to approve, and then we defeat it.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back to the original one then. So
Okay,
there's a
yes.
Motion
Good.
to approve 100% of the
Correct.
$15,000 grant,
Yeah,
and Council Bouchard made the motion.
correct, so I need a seconder. And then we will call the question and you can vote nay or in favor of it. So just because you're seconding it doesn't mean that you're in favor of it.
I will second the motion.
Thank you. We'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Sorry, in favor of,
Of waiving the fees.
Full
of the full fees.
$15,000 ask.
all in favor of waiving the fees?
Correct.
Okay. Aye.
Okay, all opposed say nay.
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 Hey,
I got you.
So now we're good, right? Because
Yes.
that's, now we can move on.
Defeated.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. That is my bad. All right, we're moving on to,
Well, can we call Councillor Wonder?
oh yes, please, thank you. Procedure is not my favorite sometimes.
You're doing a great job, Mr. Mayor. This is not old hat to a lot of people.
You can walk.
Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to the verbal report from John Poirier.
Just quickly, just to give council a quick update, I talked to Mr. Corey, went up to the sites just after the council meeting. there's a pit much to what Councillor Watt had alluded to there that is leased by the town. There's some dirt in there he'd like to use for his development. I asked him why the town had stopped allowing him to use it in the past, and the town wanted to keep that dirt for town purposes. This is a number of years ago. He was pulling out of the pit, and the town stopped allowing him just because they wanted to retain some of the dirt for future town use. He would again like to start drawing from that pit for his development of small modular homes. I saw the sites where he's building right now, and he'd like to use that dirt. So this is just give a council an update. Actually went out there and actually saw what he's trying to do. So he's just looking for the permission to draw from the pit for the dirt.
And was there any evidence of what you were planning to use the soil for?
I have not found any evidence other than it was, from what I kind of gleaned, was a number of years ago, an arbitrary decision just from administration to stop allowing the use.
So has there been any history of selling our aggregates like that?
Not that I'm aware of. It was used for town purposes, what I was told. So,
It's not approaching the airport boundary.
not at all.
Another question, with some of the developments that we potentially have on the go and with the potential for preparing our highway corridor for development, that is potentially aggregate that we will need to use for fill, correct?
It is a source.
It is a clean fill source?
It is a clean fill source. Again, I'm no expert in soil,
Yeah.
but he seemed to think it was a pretty good quality. I looked at the soil and it kind of looked like sand to me.
Well, yeah. Well draining, well draining. I, having done some extensive research on aggregates in university, it's a resource that's underrated from the town's perspective, considering we were built on bedrock and muskeg. Those sources are important to retain. I would suggest that council consider the sale of the resource if that is the will of council to allow Mr. Poirier to draw from it, but that can also get a little wonky. I think precedent would be maybe some of the asphalt, the recycled asphalt that was used with Bora. I think that was an in-kind donation for development of our trails here. And just thinking about some of those materials, where those materials have gone for, and the crushed rock that we had, I believe there was kind of a notable amount that was attributed to it. So I think that's my only point with council, is to consider that this is a resource that the town has, and with everything that we have planned, especially with trail development coming up, with our big grant, we're probably going to need some of that.
Sorry, I'm just, Robbie, did you have your hand up, or were you good?
Yeah, I just had a comment. I was just thinking to the lease agreement previously. I just want to add the comment that with the agreement with the Crown, we can't sell the stuff, but we can give it away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no sales.
Okay.
Councilor Reese?
No, I was going to make a motion, which included the sale of the aggregate, but if we can't do that, then it's pointless.
Okay.
Is,
If council is in favor of not letting me using the soil, I just need to receive the following motion. Or if you are, then we'll get a resolution on both sides. Is Can-Am Construction be allowed to access the pit?
did he have any idea of the amount of soil? Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, I would like to receive this as information and file and,
Is that your motion?
yeah.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, motion is carried. We went to the next verbal report, which is municipal grants to consider 2021.
It continues on the children's festival peaceful again. One piece of information I will add for you before I step out. The conflict is that originally tied to Canada Day, will no longer be tied to Canada Day, and the online virtual scavenger bingo, the prizes for 4 would be potentially a week, up to a week after Canada Day, and it would run for a period of 1 to 2 weeks in July.
Thank you. So just, again, because this isn't available publicly, I'll just read through this community grant 2021 first intake, that the municipal grant for communities be distributed as follows, and this was discussed at our committee of the whole meeting, that it was decided that these were the amounts, and then we can discuss further. LaRange Children's Day Inc. for $3,000, Alex Robertson Public Library for $1,000, Wild Rice Writers Group for $750, LaRange Arts Council for $4,700, Canadian Challenge Sled Dog Race for $3,982.50, the Namatep Ramble for $3,170. This includes in kind.
So
Okay.
I'll step up, you guys can start the
Okay,
discussion.
thank you. And then for a total distribution of $16,602.50.
So as Council recalls, the NAPTAC Rambler had a significant in-kind contribution, and we whittled it down to what Council was prepared to offer last.
Okay. So what we're going to do first, we're just going to talk about LaRange Children's Day. That way we can bring Councillor Reese back in here. Was there any opposition to the 3,000? Are we good with that? Okay, Councillor Watt.
Well, in the past 20 to 30 years, Children's Day Festival was always part of our Canada Day celebration. And now that the town is not supporting the Canada Day celebration, and I'm not using the word cancel, I'm using the word, the town of LaRange is not supporting the Canada Day. I find it difficult that there's been a change that Viviana's referred to, which she should not have, because she's a conflict of interest.
Correct.
So, come on, guys, we got to start playing with some transparency here, and I have difficulty with that one.
So are you wanting to change the amount, or?
I want council to rethink the figure altogether and disregard the statement that Viviana alluded to.
So I agree. If she's in conflict of interest, she cannot add anything to the conversation. So I want council to disregard any information that was presented at that time. And we'll open up the conversation first. Go ahead.
Just a question for administration. Is it possible that you could read the basic request from this group to clarify exactly what the request was and what was presented to and adjudicated on?
Again, I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay.
It was actually presented last committee meeting there.
Yeah.
So
And it was at the time of the application associated with Canada Day?
I believe it
And
was.
has these changes been registered with the town?
No, they have not.
So the application technically has changed.
Correct.
Therefore, it kind of invalidates the,
Councilor Watt does have a point.
yes, yeah, I agree with Councillor Watt in that respect. Because if it is being used in a different manner than as applied for, it's unfair to move ahead with it.
Sorry, Councillor.
No, that's good.
Okay.
I took a look at it.
As a point of, I don't know, interest or procedure or order, does our grant policy have in place a clause which states how or if an applicant can change details after the adjudication before the final decision of council?
I'd have to review off the top of my head, I can't.
And if not, I would ask that council or the administration consider coming forward with a policy to add to, or clause to add to that policy to clarify that, since it is a bit of a living document at the moment.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, Councillor Watt, you were first, and then we'll go to Councillor McPhail.
It's in regards to, again, I don't want to be taking anything away from children in our community. It's just, we're walking the line here as far as not supporting and then partially supporting and then the way the document was written. So it's not, I don't want to be made out to look like the Margaret means Children's Day in itself, because I do believe that the children in our community are very important. And we've been living under the blanket of COVID for the last year and a half. So again, it just needs to be, as I suppose, reworded or as to have you alluded to, let's be consistent.
It is a matter of policy, you're absolutely correct. And also, if you look at some of these other applicants as well, different, like COVID restrictions have changed, right? So it doesn't really give them an opportunity to change anything in their application moving forward. Councillor McPhail, go ahead.
So, the only comment that I can somewhat allude to, and it might be splitting hairs here, when I go back to the June 8th meeting where we had the original deliberations, the background that we had received was that the La Ronge Children's Day Incorporated was going to hold a bingo on July 1st. It did not say as a Canada Day celebration that was just a Children's Day festival. I do think in the matter of this that they are held typically in tandem of one another. But what I will say are they are separately budgeted and organized events in our region. And for that reason, I do believe that this is something that we can still support in our region for a bingo for the children to be active in our community and have some level of fun this summer here as well.
So before we move on, does anybody want to change? Because I don't want to sit here for hours and hours going back and forth over amounts, because otherwise we won't have anything accomplished tonight. Do we have an issue with the $3,000 and are we wanting to change that?
Could we table this particular decision?
Only problem is that our next meeting won't be in time to deliver funds. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that we can't have a special meeting, but
I would recommend not having a special meeting.
I agree.
So I guess we should really get through this tonight.
okay, so if there's no opposition to keeping it 3,000, I get the complexities of it. But again, if we're sort of sticking with our youth engagement with the town specifically, and we can sort of look at the context of everything else as we speak later, the other agenda item that's on the table. So everyone's good with 3,000? Okay, perfect. Can we bring back to Leanna and then we'll go through the rest of these. Actually, I don't know how this is going to work because I think we're going to have to do these all individually. Because Viviana can't vote on Children's Day, correct?
Yeah, it should be a conflict there.
Okay, sorry Viviana, can I just get you to cycle one more? We're going to have to do these separately.
Okay.
Pardon, my apologies. So we'll go one by one here. So I just need a motion on the table. Right? Is this
Yeah, so
the
I would
option?
see that Ms. McGrath for the orange date here for $2,000 be approved. Motion for that.
So we need a motion.
I'll make the motion that municipal grant for the Orange Children's Day Incorporated for $3,000 be distributed.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay,
And I
also have questions?
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just quickly scanning to see if our current policy has any notation of the timing, and in the application itself, there is no specific date of funds being used that is indicated in the application or in the policy.
Okay, Councilor
I
Bowden.
just want to stress again that Children's Day Festival has always been part of Canada Day, so
Yeah,
I'm not going to support it.
sorry, I have to correct myself.
Okay, go ahead.
There is a project start date and end date,
Okay,
so
if there's any other questions, comments?
I just want to double, do we know what the project start date, end date was on the application for this particular fund?
I can send an email out tomorrow when Tony's back in the office for council. I don't have that information at hand at the moment.
Okay.
That does mean that they don't get these funds before, just so everybody knows, unless we call a special meeting. Just as a heads up. So there is a motion on the table, we'll call the question. All in favor to distribute the $3,000 for the Ron Children's Day Inc. for $3,000, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion is carried. Let's, we'll bring Viviana back in here. Okay, we'll continue here. I think we're gonna have to go one by one, because I have a feeling that there's gonna be some conversation potentially about some further ones down the road here. So Alex Robertson, Public Library for $1,000.
I'll make the motion to support that.
Okay, seconder?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion is carried. The Wild Rice Writers Group for $750.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the Ron Art Council for $4,700.
I got a question for that. So were they not going to illustrate where this mural, because that's what it was, actually, maybe I should talk on a quick briefing on this. Was it, going to do some painting downtown or a mural?
Correct, it was for a mural somewhere downtown.
Did they have a location yet? Or
Again, right after the meeting, Tony went on leave for 2 weeks, so there's no, I can get an email sent out tomorrow.
so has this got some time restraints to it then?
Well,
It's summer months, I suppose.
it's just summer months, I mean, and it does take a while for a mural to get put up. I mean, I've seen one in past week all summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think
How
that
big
this,
it is, and if $4,700, that's a fairly decent sized mural.
we probably have a bit more time if we need to get further clarification on that. Correct?
Yeah, I
Without knowing what the start date was on the application.
we can get more information.
I'd like to put a motion on the table that it be approved.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I second that motion.
Any other further questions, comments?
Just one quick thing, and I don't know if this can be handled administratively, but I would like to make sure that we have either a theme or a proof of concept of what this may look like, to be part of the conditional approval. I don't anticipate any issues of what may be coming forward, but I think we need to have something in our approvals that we can't just say, paint a white wall for $4,700. So if we can have I guess, a proof of concept or a theme brought forward, I don't know if that's something we can
Yeah,
do.
that's fine.
Is that something that we need before we approve this?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion's carried. Next one, Canadian Challenge Sled Dog Race for $3,982.50.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Okay, we move on to the last one on this list, which is a Napatak Ramble for $3,170. And just so to remind council what happened at the committee of the whole, we were sort of divided as far as how much should be dispersed to the Napatak Ramble. So what we did is we did a collective table, and I averaged the amount. Do you have the dollar figure and the in-kind amount?
Yeah, so the dollar amount after the average worked out was $2,720, and the in-kind was $450 because the council committed to giving the staging and the rubber mats to the Napatak Ramble. That was it. No
Okay.
movement on that.
And just for a point of information to council, I did speak to the village of Orange, and as far as the information at the time when I asked, which was yesterday, they had not asked for any request of funding from the village of Orange. But that's not to say it can't happen, because the village of Orange doesn't have their next council meeting until the end of the month. And I haven't, you don't know any information about if it's gone to Mr. Henry, is it
I
right?
have no information.
Okay. So any questions, or go ahead?
Well, I just want council to acknowledge that we may be using taxpayers' money to enhance private property when we've got a park down here that we've been talking about on numerous occasions, put public improvement money into that, and now we're looking at enhancing a private property out of the municipality of La Ronge. It's a great idea, and that will bring people to our community. But some opposition out there, people.
Okay, Councilor Better.
So council did not agree to hauling out any kind of fill or anything, any dirt. What we did say we do is provide a stage and,
Sorry, I'll just correct you, we did not agree.
oh, so no stage? So what did we,
Or, sorry, did
Yes,
we?
stage and mats.
I'm
Okay,
I'm so sorry.
They
I'm
wanted
so sorry.
a lot more in terms of equipment, stuff like that, and council was not comfortable doing it.
council's
Sorry,
not
Councilor.
comfortable with our equipment going out there, our dirt going out there, so what we did is supplied a stage and some, what, masks?
Mats.
Mats.
And funded.
And funding, yes.
2720.
$3,170 out of, how much did they originally ask for? Like 12,000 or something
That's correct.
Councilor Sharp?
I just think, grand scheme of things, a $2,700 sponsorship for the amount of food, supplies, and other goods that people purchase in town and support our local businesses with. The materials that would be, a lot of the materials that the Bramble organization would use would be purchased in town. They're very community-minded, so I think a sponsorship level of $2,700 is reasonable, and then the addition of some staging and rubber mats as they get set up, I think is fair. I agree with Councillor Watt that having improvements to private property funded by the town is not appropriate, but a sponsorship request is pretty banal when it comes to the requests that the town would consider. So, just like the sled dog challenge, it is held on town property, but it's something that we sponsor every year because it is such a benefit to our region.
Okay, and just another point of interest too, the organizers have stated, because this was a concern for mine about staging, that they do have insurance as necessity for that too.
Thank you.
Okay, any other further discussion around this? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion?
Also move to approve that.
Okay, so an amount of $2,720 in a dollar donation and $450 in kind. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion is carried. All right. The last one on this, in addition to the adoption of the agenda, is the issue report, water and sewer service agreement.
So if I can, Mr. Mayor, I'll pass it over to Cigar because he's online. The council recalls, the band was doing some work, I believe near Charles Street, earlier this year, and there's an offer to service 3 properties over there that have no water and sewer right now, just the way the town developed. And Cigar, when talked to those property owners, they are willing to contribute $5,000 towards the cost to get the service lines connections put in, and the estimate right now between 15 to 20 grand per property to put it in, so the town will be approximately on the hook for about 2/3 to 3/4 of the cost, and the property owner will be responsible for it. So what we're seeking here tonight is just council approval, if you're okay with that cost sharing, and for us to authorize myself and the mayor to sign agreements with those property owners once said agreements are done.
So, is this just to install the service lines to those particular houses?
Water
Or
and
is
sewer.
is there a connection fee?
The water and sewer connection in, and then we start being billed on the water.
No, I don't think you caught the question. Is there a service connection fee? Or is that $15,000 to put those services from the main into the house?
The $15,000, from what I understand, is from the main into the house.
Wow.
I know, they did a lot of blasting to put that line in there.
Is that cheap or is that
That's
expensive?
very, very expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's from Associated Engineering.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what it's-
understandable.
Sorry, I'm not coming up with the numbers.
No, I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm just asking questions. Thank you.
One little, in the agreement, just scanning it, I noticed that easy payment option proposed by town is $1,000 a month for 5 years. I believe that should be reading $1,000 a year for 5 years.
This was a draft prepared, we still need to get it to the town solicitor's office to get it.
Just pointing it out so it doesn't get missed. I'm sure somebody will catch it along the way, but I just wanted to make sure that that was caught.
Okay, so just need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll move that the water and sewer service agreement be put in place.
Brad, seconded.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
So one question,
Sorry.
so that being that happens, the owner has to pay a certain amount a month, what if they don't, and where does it go?
We will make the necessary arrangements in the agreement to protect the town. So I'll work with the solicitor to come up with necessary protections, and again, at the end of the day, at the council, if I recall, if they don't pay, they get the water turned off, so we'll make sure the necessary protections in the agreement. That's why we're using the town solicitor.
And do you have the authority to do that when it's on reserve property? To shut that off?
If I'm mistaken, this is in the curb stop, I think it's put in.
So further, prior to this question being asked, then, is there a ceiling of 15,000?
Right now, the upset limit is actually 20, with the owner being responsible for 5. So the upset limit is 15.
Right, because Councilor Bordisky did mention the point of bedrock, so I mean, I just don't want these guys to get in there. I don't know,
Read that dynamite.
well, no, they, you know, that's part of the project too, is to go in there and blast bedrock, but I don't want to see it go from 20 to 35,000.
So if you can leave with me, if it starts going up, I'll bring it back to council. If you start getting it, or you put a motion in there to put upset limit on it if you want to. The agreement would be approved up to a maximum of $20,000 per service connection.
Okay, so an amendment can go on the table, or else we can call the question. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of, sorry, can you just repeat your motion?
Yeah, that we move forward with the water and sewer service agreement.
Thank you. Excellent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion is carried. Move on to
Mr. Watt.
page. Sorry, I'm just on the wrong agenda line here. So Mr. Watt's agenda item goes to new business as sort of requested. So we move on to financial statements and updates, which is the budgetary control report.
And Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, Pat's having issues getting into Zoom tonight for whatever reason, so I'll do my best to answer any questions if there is any.
Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions?
I'll make a motion to receive and file the financial statements and updates.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or, sorry, as a point of order, administration, we have to have it approved in the language?
Just receive and file.
Okay, then
Okay,
I'm
so,
in favor.
okay, sorry. Well, I'll call the question again. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion is carried. Reserve status, check registry, there's nothing in there, correct?
Yeah, they're having issues there, it'll be on for the next, possibly in July.
Okay, thank you. 5.4 bank reconciliation. Any questions?
I move to accept and file as presented.
You have a second here?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, motion's carried. 6, there's no motion. 7, bylaws. This is bylaw, I want to say hashtag, number sign. Is that just an error? Okay, thank you. So we move on to number 8, which is new business discussion items. Councillor Watt has added Canada Day as a new business discussion. Councillor Watt, your report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion for the town of Orange to reconsider and support Canada Day celebration. In supporting the, sorry, I gotta make notes on my phone, but I didn't have a pen, I'm working on the lake. So in support of the, on behalf of the people that have fought and died for this great country, for all the great achievements that Canadians have brought to the world, to support some of our town employees that have served for this great country, and for the town of Orange not to support the Canada Day celebrations, it's a tough one. So again, I'd like to make a motion on the floor tonight for the town of Orange to reconsider and support the Canada Day celebration.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, let's open up the table to discussion. So I have a question. What does that exactly mean? What are you wanting to see happen?
Well, there was a special meeting called on Thursday of last week in regards to supporting the tri-community decision. That special meeting was, it was a meeting that was called after a decision, after it was public notice that we supported the position of the tri-community. So I'm just asking people around this table to reconsider the decision that was made and support it.
Councilor Reese?
Okay, so I guess just as a point of information, I would like to say a few things. I will reiterate, Canada Day celebration celebrates the coming together of the colonies, right? So we are celebrating the Dominion of Canada, the coming together is what we're celebrating. We are not necessarily celebrating veterans. We remember and acknowledge the sacrifices veterans have made on Remembrance Day. There's actually a special day set aside specifically for that, and it's a day of remembrance, which is a somber event. We did not cancel Canada Day. We canceled some of the celebrations connected to Canada Day. The town of La Ronge's role in Canada Day has been for the last, 10 or so years where I've actively participated in the Canada Day celebrations, has been facilitating a parade, which the fire department does, and facilitating the fireworks. Every other public celebration we see is facilitated by independent groups of volunteers who this year were not going to facilitate anything because they can't due to COVID regulations anyway. So the only thing we would have seen publicly would have been the parade, which lasts 45 minutes. And in our community, we can actually have a parade any time of year, whenever we want, right? As long as we put the parade request in. And the fireworks. So I believe that there are plans that are going to be put at the table at some point to have a community celebration once COVID regulations have lifted. My second point of information is that our neighbors are in mourning, and they have publicly declared they are in mourning. So if our neighbors are in mourning, do we host a giant party next door? Is that the right thing to do? Third, I have had people state to me in person, via text, I am a proud La Ronge resident. I never thought I would see this day. In tears, yesterday at the event downtown, a young woman about my age, well, not that I'm young, but someone my age who attended residential school in Timber Bay, which is one of the residential schools in Canada that has not officially been recognized as a residential school, nor have those victims been apologized to, compensated, etc., saying thank you. It's nice to know that non-Indigenous people actually care, right? So for me, when my neighbor has a tragedy of their extended family, if we think of all of us as brothers and sisters, because Kamloops would be considered extended family, I'm not going to throw a party next door. With that being said, should people wish to have private Canada Day celebrations in their home that they host, hey, who am I to say they can't? Who are we to say they can or can't? I think that's a private decision people need to make.
So just before we go any further, everyone's going to have one opportunity to speak tonight, otherwise it's going to go around forever. So I urge you to say your say as much as you can in essence of time. So I apologize, I don't know who went next. We'll go.
Point of order.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan.
The point of order that I have is in regards to the reconsideration of a motion under the council procedures bylaw. And I will quote directly from the council procedures bylaw, which governs our meetings. Article 77, no motion once passed by council shall be subject to reconsideration except in accordance with this section. 78, any motion may be reconsidered by council if a change has occurred in any material fact relied upon by council in deciding or in the event new information is made. The subsection 79, the CAO shall promptly notify the council. No action shall be taken to carry into effect the main motion until after the motion of reconsideration has been decided by council. At the next regular meeting of council, the main motion shall be placed before members of council together with the member's motion for reconsideration of that motion in question. During the debate on a motion for reconsideration, no debate shall be allowed with respect to the main motion until council resolves to reconsider the matter, except for the purposes of the mover of the motion giving his or her reasons for bringing the motion forward. So from my understanding, by the laws that govern our meetings, that I would urge our mayor to call this motion to reconsider out of order for a couple reasons. I don't believe that there's been any change in any material fact between the time that we had made our original motion and now. I don't believe that there was 24 hours notice or 24 hours given to the CAO from any member of the majority from the, I guess it would be the winning side of the argument on our last special meeting of council, and every member of council voted on the matter. There was no abstentions, which means in my mind that that every member of council voted with the information that they had in front of them at that time, and like I said, don't believe there's been any material fact changed since the original motion has been brought forward.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So first and foremost, before I do rule it out of order, Mr. Brown, was there a 24-hour notice? But actually, no, that doesn't even matter because it had to come from someone in the positive. So therefore, I understand and I appreciate the sensitivity of this, Councillor Watt, I really do, but I'm going to rule your motion out of order. So that being said, we will be moving on to.
Can I get my hand up, please?
But
I can speak.
You can at the round table if you like, unless there's another agenda.
It seems like
Is
you
there another
can pull out
agenda
the point of order.
Sorry, I'm going to call.
Okay.
Sorry, I have the floor. So, if there is agenda item that you want to speak about, or we want to talk about at the round table, you can.
Okay. You can pull out the point of order.
Okay.
And say this is out of order. But yet, if I wouldn't have sent that email saying that I was opposed to that motion, there would have not been a motion put forward because you guys decided without that there was no transparency. That decision was made on Wednesday.
Hey, gentlemen. Okay.
That motion was made on Wednesday. It was already public that we were not going to have Canada Day.
Thank you.
So, I'll speak on that, and I absolutely respect where you're
But
coming
all of a
from.
sudden the rule book comes out.
So,
Why is it that the city of Edmonton can have a modified Canada Day? Why can Ottawa have a convoy of trucks a kilometer and a half long with signs on it saying, yes, now we know, and honoring the 215 victims, and yet we have to cancel Canada Day? Why is that?
570 plus across Canada.
Okay. So, a couple things here. I'll first and foremost talk about the special meeting that was not ordered correctly. And I will be the first one to stand up here and say that that was absolutely incorrect of me not to call that. But I want to make it very clear moving forward, and I want you guys to all understand that there will be far more special meetings special meetings called for that transparency. So I will say that right here, right to all of you here and everyone that is watching, that will happen more often, because time is of the essence sometimes, and I get that, and I get that there's a very sensitive nature to this. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Secondly, a special meeting did get called, and a motion was passed. And I know that you disagree, and I know we're not going to agree on everything at this table. However, majority of council and the will of council was to not proceed with Canada Day celebrations. And I understand that you guys are very upset about that. I truly do. But we did not cancel Canada Day. We put a pause on it, okay? And because we do not have it in our jurisdiction or even the law to cancel anyone from celebrating Canada Day. So I get that, gentlemen, I really do, and I feel for you. And I will still celebrate Canada Day, but I will also be taking that moment, as we discussed with the motion that was on the table, to think about our neighbors in solidarity. So I will open the table if you do want to add more to that, because you're entitled to that, and I do want to hear your voice.
Okay, I'll change my motion. My motion to read this. Will the town of Orange allow the park to be utilized on July 1 for people to express their gratitude for the country of Canada?
So it's not a motion, because that's a question. So you'll have to rephrase your motion.
My motion to read this. Will the town of Orange,
That's a question again, if you're going to start with no.
I move that the town of Orange.
Right access.
I move that the town of Orange provide access to Patterson Park for the people of Orange to celebrate this great nation we live in.
Do I have a second here?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further comments, questions? Councilor Bashar? Sorry, Jordan, go ahead, because I do need your direction on this, so please go ahead.
What we're effectively saying is we allow public access to a public park.
So I was thinking.
We don't need permission.
We don't need a motion to have public access to a public park.
Anyone can go anywhere right
If you want
now.
to go barbecue down there, you go barbecue.
Yeah, we could go throw water balloons at each other in the tennis court right now if we wanted to, right? Who wants to go do that?
Thank you, that's all I need.
So procedurally, that's not a motion that we need to pass, correct?
To me, in my opinion, this would fall into the same thing of every meeting we say we make a motion to allow administration to send water bills this month. It's a normal practice that we have in the town, and we have public access to public parks. There hasn't been any delegation or correspondence with request to ask for stage, to ask for anything outside of normal practices at our local park. So I would also say that, from my opinion, this would be out of order as well.
Okay. Councilor Bashar, did you want to add something before I?
Just a comment of support to those that do want to celebrate Canada Day. Any intent behind my motion to support pausing Canada Day festivities put on by the town was not in opposition to celebration of Canada Day. I expect and support individuals that want to head down to Patterson Park and enjoy a beautiful day in a beautiful park in a country we all love, to do so.
So respectfully, Councilor Watt, I will call your motion out of order. But please know, I get the contentious nature of this. But will council during the special meeting, and as I reaffirm to you tonight, Councilor Hidisky, that will never happen again. And I request, and this is why we're all at this table, right? I am so glad that you did come forward just to say your opposition and say that this is not correct and this is what needs to be happening, because we're all still learning at this table. So thank you. I do honestly thank you for that. And know that will not happen again. And if it does, please keep, that's the job, right? We're all here to keep each other accountable. So I do thank you for that. So with that, we're moving on to in-camera. So I need a motion for in-camera, please.
I move to move into camera at 9:39 p.m. on June 22nd, 2021.
Do I have a second here?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, we'll move to in camera. Do we need a 5-minute recess to cool down?
I just want to ask Dr.
Okay, let's do a 5-minute recess, please.